Welcome to today's webinar, announcing Amazon Lightsail, launch and manage simple virtual private servers. Our presenters today are Emily Kruger and George Alesios. Today with us we also have Gabriel Gosselin, who will be sharing a live demo, Claire Yuan, and Saram Chundi. They will be serving as well as our webinar moderators and will engage with you in answering your questions throughout the presentation. Emily and George, welcome. The floor is now yours.
Hey, thanks. Welcome and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on this webinar about one of AWS's newest services, Amazon Lightsail. We're really excited to see your attendance today and see so many of you joining us online. My name is George Alesios, and I'm a Principal Product Manager here at AWS, leading the Amazon Lightsail team. I'm joined here today by Emily Kruger, who runs product marketing. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
For Lightsail, and Gabriel Gosselin, one of our engineers in the Lightsail team, who is going to be showing us a demo later on today. As many of you already know, Lightsail is the latest addition to our compute service portfolio, and we announced the launch of the service towards the end of November during the reInvent conference at Andy Jass's keynote. Lightsail is a web service aimed to provide a very simplified experience and an easy-to-use interface at a very low and predictable monthly price. Lightsail is really aimed at anyone who wants to leverage AWS powerful and reliable and scalable cloud to deploy simple workloads and get started on AWS. Since launch of the service, we have seen a lot of interest on Lightsail and have interacted with many of you both face-to-face and also online. So we have decided to do our first AWS webinar on Lightsail today so that we can better introduce the service to you, cover the experience of someone getting started with Lightsail, but also cover some of the most common questions regarding Lightsail that we've heard over the past month and hopefully we'll get from you today. Finally, we want to showcase that simplicity and power of Lightsail that we've been talking about with some real-world examples. So let's take a closer look at what we're going to talk about today. The webinar is really split into two halves. The first half of the webinar will be an overview of the Lightsail service in general. It will include what is Lightsail and why do we decide to build it and why do we think it's an important service. It will also include a little bit more detail about how Lightsail works. And as I know that most of you are also very interested, what are Lightsail plans and how they are priced and how the general Lightsail pricing works on a monthly basis. We're also going to cover the top use case we envision for Lightsail, both from what we've seen from customers using Lightsail, but also what we believe in the future customers can use Lightsail for, and these use cases that we designed really Lightsail for. Then we will move into the second part of the webinar, which is going to be a more technical section, is going to explore ways that you can extend and scale your application using Lightsail. But also it's going to go a little bit more detail about how you can use the Lightsail API and console. This part of the webinar will also include two short demos on everyday use cases that we have seen on Lightsail. I just want to remind everyone that if you have questions during any time in the presentation, please use the Q&A box to ask them, and we have a number of Lightsail team members here trying to answer as many of these questions as possible. We also reserved some time towards the end of the webinar for a Q&A, and we will pick a handful of the questions from the questions that we get during the webinar to answer for all attendees. One other thing I want to note here is that we have been interacting with you through our Lightsail forum on AWS, and we really love the feedback and the questions that we've been getting there. So I want to encourage everyone after the webinar to also use the forums to ask any questions, whether they are technical or product questions about how to use Lightsail in the AWS forums. So all right, let's get started. So what is Lightsail? Lightsail is the easiest way to get started on AWS. This is what we designed it for, and this what we think is best used for. But how is it the easiest way to get started on AWS? What did we do in order to make it so? Basically, we've taken a number of resources and services and we've bundled them together so that you can use a single plan of Lightsail to get everything you need to deploy a simple website, a web app, or in a production system, or even a development and test environment. What does that mean? We've bundled compute, i.e. virtual servers, storage, i.e. SSD hard disks, and networking, i.e. IP addresses, DNS management, and data transfer into a single plan. And that allows you to deploy your resources very easily with a few clicks. When we look a little bit deeper into what the Lightsail plans and servers are about, you can see that you can get a number of pre-configured operating systems, apps, and app stacks that save you time and ensure best practices when you deploy your virtual servers on the cloud. What's more, you get all that in a low and, most importantly, predictable price month after month on Lightsail. So you can deploy your app, your website, or any simple workload really, very easily and predictably. But Lightsail is a lot more than just deploying a workload or deploying a website. It's about the easy long-term management of your workloads on the cloud. And that's why we've chosen to build a standalone separate Lightsail web console that is intuitive and easy to use, and it's really geared towards those use cases that we've been talking about. Through the Lightsail console, you can perform many management activities, and you can get direct online help from our easy documentation and quick assist panels. What's also very important is that we've backed everything that you can do in the web console of Lightsail with a tailored and easy to use API and CLI. So you get, So you get the quick access from the web console, but you also get the ability to automate your ongoing management from your API and make your life simpler long term. Another feature that Lightsail offers, and we're really excited about, is the access it gives you to other AWS services. Lightsail is designed to give you access to the dozens of AWS services in an easy and secure manner over the private network. That's something that you really only get from an AWS service. This is a robot. So, I want to talk a little bit about how Lightsail makes it easy to deploy with a few clicks, and what is the difference between Lightsail and other compute services that you might see on the AWS platform. Over the years, AWS has built a wide and deep platform that now consists of more than 80 services, I think, and really thousands of features and options about how to optimize your deployments for your workloads. Our customers synthesize a number of those services in order to really achieve their complicated security, performance, and manageability requirements, and they really love that breadth and depth of features that the AWS platform offers. However, we have also heard repeatedly from our customers that sometimes they just need to deploy a simple workload, and they don't need all of those options and configurations, especially when they're getting started on AWS. So what we decided to do with Lightsail is take a lot of these options and configurations and abstract them away, in a sense doing that heavy lifting for you, so that you don't have so that you can focus on what's really important for you, which is deploying your app, building your code, and getting started quickly. You could traditionally how customers would deploy a complicated workload on AWS would be to synthesize a number of AWS services, like, for example, EC2 to launch an instance, and you'd have to select from one of the dozens of EC2 instance types and sizes in order to deploy. Then you'd probably attach some sort of storage, probably an EBS volume, and then in order to manage access to your instance and to your resources, you'd have to set up complex IAM policies, identity and access management policies, create security groups so that you secure your resources and your instances, and then manage your SSH keys, find a way to do that. What Lightsail has done is has taken a lot of that and has put it under the hood, so that now you can go to the Lightsail console, click on Create Instance, and go. And all of that stuff is taken care for you from Lightsail under the hood. I mentioned earlier that Lightsail was specifically designed to be simple and easy to use. And also it was specifically designed for those simple workloads that we've been talking about. But what does that mean in reality? So within every Lightsail plan, you get, as we discussed earlier, some compute, which is a virtual server, SSD block storage, and it's a strictly SSD basically disks, and networking, including a free static IP address, DNS management capabilities, and very importantly, a healthy amount of data transfer included in the plan. We've chosen to, when we designed Lightsail, we've made a number of technical, design, and user experience decisions to optimize Lightsail for the simple workload deployments. For example, when we're talking about compute, we have chosen to include within Lightsail burstable performance instances. This is burstable performance technology is a technology that AWS has developed for exactly these kind of workloads. So when you're running a website or a simple web server, a web app or a dev environment, you basically do not use your CPUs very often, very frequently. But you do need to be able to burst, because that's how these workloads work. And that's what the burstable performance instances provide to you. They allow you to burst and get that extra performance when you need it, get those CPU cores in your hands when you really, really need them, while protecting you from the effects of oversubscription environments that you will see elsewhere. Same goes with SSD block storage. We believe that including SSD storage within Lightsail is actually optimizing you for those web servers. Of course, you also get access to the highly available and secure and performant networking of AWS. And as discussed earlier, you get a healthy amount of data transfer included in your plan. Now, by virtue of just using Lightsail, you also get DNS management capabilities, so you can set up your DNS. You can get a static IP for every Lightsail instance, with up to 3 static IPs for each account, which means that you can set up an IP and that remains locked to your account. It's yours, so that when you set up external systems like DNS management or other references to your resources, you don't have to worry about losing your IP and having to reconfigure all the systems. Very importantly, you get access to AWS services over the VPC peering connection that we're going to be discussing a bit later. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Emily, who is going to take us through the predictable pricing for Lightsail. Thanks.
Thanks, George. As George said, we're going to transition now to talk a little bit about the Lightsail plans and how they're priced. So you can see here are 5 plans that we offer today for Lightsail. And when we were designing Lightsail, we didn't want to just make the service very easy to use, very easy to launch, but we also wanted to make the pricing predictable. We'd heard that, for very simple use cases, or something when you're launching a service that you may not know how many resources it might consume, you don't want to have to guess about that ahead of time, how much you're going to have to charge each month. And so each of our Lightsail plans have a fixed monthly price that includes a certain amount of resources. And as George mentioned, each of the plans have a set amount of computing power, storage, memory, and data transfer. Our smallest plan is very inexpensive. It's only $5 a month, and then you can scale up to a quite powerful server for $80 a month. We'll talk a little bit later. We'll show you our free offer, but the $5 plan is also available for free for your first month of use. So George talked a lot about what's included in Lightsail and all the different services that you're getting bundled into one flat price. But there are a few things that could cost you extra. And we're going to talk about that here. We designed Lightsail to be a fixed cost plan that you can count on each month. But and in order to do this, we took a look across the millions of customers that are using AWS and at all the resources they were consuming for instances of comparable size and basically bundled that into the plan. So we're very confident for almost all users that the plans that you showed you on the previous screen will actually be enough for your use case, and there will be no reason to be concerned about any overages. At the same time, we also want to avoid abuse of Lightsail plans and waste of resources, so we created overages for a couple of the resources. These safeguards also help to keep prices low for all of our Lightsail customers. I want this to all be very transparent so that there shouldn't be any gotchas or surprises when you're coming to your monthly bill. So there are basically 4 ways that you could spend a little extra with Lightsail. The first is data transfer. For the smallest Lightsail plan, 1 terabyte of data transfer is included. And 1 terabyte is actually really a lot of data. We looked across all of our instance use in EC2, all the data that we have at AWS as a company, and it's very hard for some of these smaller instance types, like the ones that are available in Lightsail, to actually exceed a 1 terabyte threshold. That being said, if you do hit that limit, we only charge you for your data out, so you don't have to worry about incurring data in or data in between parts of the network. It's only data out as the overage charge. Secondly, we have unattached IP addresses. So you get 1 static IP address free with each of your instances, and as long as you're using it with your instance, no problem, it's free. Lightsail today only supports 1 IP per instance from a technical perspective, so there's really no reason why you would have more than 1 IP, really per instance. If you do happen to have an unattached IP address, though, we will charge you for it, and that has largely to do with conserving IPv4 addresses. So if you happen to have an unattached address, you will incur a monthly charge. The way to avoid that charge is easy, though. Just to destroy your unattached IP address, it's only a couple clicks in the console. This isn't really a problem that you should ever run into. Third is DNS queries. So we've included a massive amount of DNS queries each month in your plans, 3 million a month. If your site is actually popular enough to exceed 3 million queries, you can buy it for 1 million more for only 40 cents. So it's very inexpensive. Again, this is about us being able to keep your costs low for all of our customers on Amazon Lightsail by creating a cap there. And finally is snapshots. So snapshots aren't really an overage charge, but they're actually an extra service that you can use with Lightsail. So because snapshots use additional storage space, we're going to charge you a very inexpensive rate of only 5 cents per gigabyte per month to host that storage for you. So you get to choose if you use snapshots or not and how many snapshots you use, so you can very easily control that cost as well. So this is a very long-winded explanation, but we really want to be very transparent and have you feel very confident in the price that you're getting with your monthly plan. We really believe that almost none of you should be running into any of these overages or data limits. All right, so moving on. So as we want to talk now about some use cases that we see for Lightsail. Now, what we have listed in this slide is by no means finite. You may have a lot of creative uses of Lightsail that we don't have listed here. But these are where we really see the majority of our customers having a need to have a very simple VPS service. So you also notice there are a few things that probably are not great for Lightsail, though. So if you have a very, very large application that's running hundreds of servers or software that uses a lot of computing power, like big data, scientific applications, etc., or you're streaming movies or other media through your website or web application, probably Lightsail is not going to be the right app for you. But basically, almost everything else is on the table. We have EC2 and the broader AWS platform for these more complicated workloads. So here you can see that Lightsail can be used to host websites and web applications. We'll show you all of the pre-configured AMIs or templates that we have included with Lightsail in a slide and a couple slides down the road. But those include you can install applications like WordPress or Joomla or Drupal with 1 click. You also can run your online store on Lightsail. You can use Magento or bring your own e-commerce platform. And then again, outside of production environments is also a great place to be able to spin up dev environments and test your code out. It's a lot of times if you just want to be, testing something that you're working on, going through the whole process of setting up EC2 instance may be a lot of work. This allows you to just do it in a few clicks, test it, and then keep going with your project. And then finally, like any server, you can use it to run any software for your small business. So for instance, finance software, collaboration software, etc. So here you go. Here are the pre-configured templates that we include for each with Lightsail. We have, today we've got 2 operating systems that we include, so it's Amazon Linux and Ubuntu. In applications, we have WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento, and Redmine. And then we have a handful of development stacks like LAMP. We support Nginx, so for your LAMP stack. We support Beanstalk, Node.js, and GitLab. So we believe that this is actually, we've looked through all of the different applications that you or AWS customers are using today in Marketplace and made a selection of the applications we thought were going to be the most useful for you. If you have ideas or other application templates you're interested in, let us know in our poll question or in the chat window. Be helpful for us to understand as we're growing the service over time. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. We're going to switch to sort of the technical part of the presentation, and we're going to get Gabriel in here to show you Lightsail in action. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about the Lightsail API. Lightsail has its own API and its own command line interface, or CLI, to be able to allow you to do really everything that you can do in the console and even more from your terminal. So you're able to, from our API, to manage all your resources, including creating them, starting them, stopping them, destroying them. You can set up your VPC peering from Lightsail to your AWS VPC using the API. We're going to talk quite a bit more about that in just a few slides. And you can also build out really your own features and automation for the platform. And we already have some customers that are doing that today. So some examples of this that we already have, are already functional, already out in the world that you could try out right now, are you can use the API to create instances from existing snapshots. And when you do that, you can also choose to resize your instance to a larger plan. So you could create a new, larger instance, restore your snapshot, and then have access to more resources. We also have a really very cool function that was created by one of our customers that's about, and that we're going to share with you later today, which is about automatic snapshotting. So this uses a Lambda function to be able to call and create snapshots on a schedule. And Gabriel is going to tell you about that in just a moment here. So before we dive into the demo, let's go through a few of the quick steps that you need to get started with the API. So in order to use the Lightsail API, you are going to want to go into the AWS console and create an access key. From there, through our documentation, you can find links to install the CLI and the SDK. And then if you want to read up on the API, get real familiar with it, you can review the API documentation, and then you're ready to go. It's really quite straightforward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gabriel, and he's going to show you this in action.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Gabriel Gosselin, and I'm here to talk to you about Lightsail and give you a demo. So you can see here I've got my Lightsail console open, and you can see I've got a couple of instances already set up. Now, one of the kind of typical use cases that people might have is they might want to take snapshots of their instance, and currently the way that you create a snapshot is quite easy. You go to the Snapshots tab. You go to your instance management console page, and then you can go to the Snapshots tab here. We've already kind of pre-populated it with a logical snapshot name for you. There's a timestamp right here. And now you can hit Create Snapshot, and it'll take a little while for that snapshot to be created. So I've already gone ahead here and created a snapshot previously so that I can go to the next step of our demo, which is, hey, you might want to launch an instance from that. So we're going to go ahead and create a new instance, and you can see I've got a dialog here that is asking me if I really want to create a new 1 gig instance, because this is the instance that I've had previously attached to that snapshot, from which the snapshot was taken. So I'm going to say yes. Now, it's giving me a bit of a long name here, but I'm just going to say that this is my Django demo 2. I'm going to hit create, and it's going to go ahead, and if I go back to my home page, you'll see that we've now got a third instance here. It wasn't there before. It's actually being created from that snapshot that I took earlier. Now, it's great that we offer snapshotting with that one-click functionality there, but some people have expressed interest in having snapshots automatically being taken. Someone went ahead and over on the AWS Labs GitHub page, they've put up this Lightsail Auto Snapshots Lambda function. So I've already previously gone to my IAM management console and downloaded my access key and private key. And I went through, I downloaded the AWS console, and I configured the AWS CLI so that I was able to actually do something with this Lambda function. It's actually pretty straightforward. We've got, if you go to clone or download, you can just clone this URL. And I've already done that here in this tab. So you can see I've already cloned. I'm going to list the content, and you can see this is the content that I've pulled from online. You can see that the function that it was suggesting here is bin/deploy and retention days. And so we're going to go ahead and type bin/deploy, and we'll go with 30 days for retention. Now I'm hitting enter, and what this is doing is it's actually chaining together some pre-written Lambda scripts, and it's creating a new Lambda function in AWS. And because you have similar access credentials between your Lightsail and your AWS instances, you can use the same access keys in order to work with the two. So this is going to take a little while, but I thought ahead and already got my a previous version of this up and running, and you can see that we've got this Lambda function here that's already running. This one I only created today, so it hasn't yet triggered because it is a daily trigger that is automatically brought in through CloudWatch. And so you'll see that once it does trigger, you will see the number of invocation counts climb, and there you've got that Lambda function. So that's a quick taste of the kind of things that you can do with the AWS CLI for Lightsail. And actually, I'm just going to take a quick look here because there's really nothing too crazy going on here. It's actually going to be in the Lambda function, but it's essentially using the AWS, the Lightsail CLI that's already provided through Bodo. So I'm going to flip the demo back over to Emily so that she can finish the rest of her presentation.
All right. Thanks, Gabriel. That was awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can extend your application using Lightsail. So obviously, using the API is an obvious way to be able to do that, as Gabriel showed you how you can add some functionality. And you can be creative and figure out some new ways to be able to manage and extend your Lightsail instances by playing around with the API. But here's 3 other ideas. So first, you can connect multiple Lightsail instances together. So this will allow you to build out applications that have distributed workloads. So for instance, you could have a specific server that was just running your web services. You could have another one that was just running database, and something else running email functions, etc. So, and we support doing that. You can be able to spin up multiple instances and connect them together. Another way that you can, as your application grows, you might be able to want to add extra protection against outages or other events that might be able to bring down your app. So you're able to replicate your application by creating it in multiple availability zones. And today we have 4 availability zones available in the US East region, and you can create them in multiple availability zones and create that redundancy. Finally, you can add features and capabilities outside of Lightsail by connecting your instance to resources that are running in your AWS console. So by signing up for Lightsail, you automatically get an AWS account as well. If you're already an AWS customer and you wanted to create a Lightsail instance, you would just use your Lightsail or your AWS credentials to be able to log in and start creating instances. So the good thing about that is that you're able to create other resources that don't exist today inside of Lightsail in the AWS console, enable VPC peering in the Lightsail console, and then connect those services together and be able to grow your application. And there's also a number of services that don't use VPC in the AWS console, but you can still access them in the console, create them there, and then many of them will connect to Lightsail over the internet, even if they don't use Amazon's private network. So let's dig into that a little more. Here you can see a list of some services that you can connect with VPC peering, and then some others that you can connect creating them in your AWS account and then connecting them over the internet. So we're actually going to demo an example of an application that was built and then in Lightsail and then connected to our managed database service, which is called Relational Database Service, or RDS. And these 2 resources are connected using the VPC. So here, if you want to set up VPC peering, what you have to do is you go into your Lightsail account settings, and there's a toggle there, and just set it to say Enable VPC Peering, turn that on. It will connect to your default VPC in your Amazon account. So if you don't have a VPC created in your Amazon account, you want to make sure you create one first in order to make that connection work. Next, you'll be able to create your database in RDS using the AWS console, and then you point it to your Lightsail application. So that's all. Gabriel is going to then show us how this works.
All right, so I previously set up an RDS database and set up the security groups for it. And so earlier you saw that I had in my Lightsail console my Django demo app. I've set it to, you can see here by this icon that I've set it to a static IP address. That is easily achieved by going to the networking section and adding static IP. You can also do that in here when you create a new static IP by selecting an instance. So for example, if I wanted to peg my Django demo 2 to a static IP, I'd be able to do that from here. So here, if I go back to my Django demo app, I am going to actually connect to this instance. Now, some of you have probably already seen that in order to do that, it's actually easy to do so straight through the website. So you can hit connect, and it'll bring up an SSH terminal straight into that Django demo app, straight into your instance. Now, I've already got on here an app that I've created, so I'm going to go to Apps, Django, Robot Parts. 1 second. Lightsail webinar demo, and I've created a Django app within that called Robot Parts. So what I did here was, this is actually an Nginx instance that I created. So if you were going to do this yourself, from Create Instance, you can choose the Nginx pre-configured application. It's already set up for things like PHP, MySQL, but I actually wanted to use Python, and in order to use a Django app with Nginx, you're usually going to use something like Unicorn. So I've got this Nginx instance that I created. You choose the appropriate plan size, and then give it a name like another demo. And I'm going to click Create. Now, I could step you through all the install steps, but suffice it to say, these Nginx images are actually based on Bitnami's pre-configured applications. And one of the cool things on the Create Instance page is that we've actually got here a quick assist that will tell you a little bit about various instances. And if you are on an instance management page, it also gives you more information about what the various tabs are doing. So I showed you before that I can SSH in through our handy browser terminal connection. But honestly, as a developer, I usually don't want to do that kind of thing. And so I actually want to show you what you would have to do if you've used the default key to actually connect through SSH, which is what a lot of us might do. And it's something that I've gotten a few questions about on the forums. So you can see here on the connect page, it tells me that I'm using my default key pair, and I can go download that from the account page. I'm going to, down here at the bottom, it says download default key, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And one of the things to note is that by default, because this is coming from the internet, the permissions on this private key are actually very open, and SSH is going to have problems with actually allowing me to use that. So if I go to a brand new terminal window, the first thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm actually have to chmod, which is change the file permissions, and I want to change the file permissions to 0400 on my Lightsail default private key. So now that I've done that, SSH will actually allow me to use that private key in order to connect to my Lightsail instance. So if I go back to that Lightsail instance, let's actually go to Lightsail demo, or Django demo 1. And you can see that the static IP that I've given it, or the public IP here, is 34.197, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to SSH and then use, so -I tells it to use a private key. I already had a copy that I've put in my .ssh folder. So you can see I've got this command here. And by default, all the Bitnami application image instances use Ubuntu as the default username. And you can see I've got the IP address there. So now I'm able to SSH and connect. So after I connected to my Nginx instance, I went and I used apt-get to install various Python and Unicorn libraries. And then I set up that application that I showed you previously. So I'm going to go there now. And in order to connect this to an RDS database, what I've done is I've actually, I go into the settings file for my app. And I'm going to go to the database section. And you can see here I've changed the engine to Postgres because I chose a Postgres RDS instance. And I updated the database name, user, and password that I provided previously when I set up this instance. And so now I've got all that configured. And I just want to show you that this app is currently working and has data on it. So, okay, this is my default developer mode Django app. And if I log into admin, you can see that I previously created a robot parts app. And this is using that RDS database that I configured previously. And I can just show you real quick. that this is in fact that RDS instance. Now, one of the things that we're going to be that we will work through and simplify for users is actually going through the steps of VPC peering. It took a lot of effort on our team to try and create the one-click VPC peering strategy, and we're seeing that there's still a few more steps and there's still a few more elements to the tutorial that we want to add. So for now, RDS is easiest to go through the public web, but we will follow up with a tutorial on how to use RDS through VPC, since that is also a question that we've been seeing on the forums and in today's question session. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Emily and George.
Right. There's our slides. Great. Thanks, Gabriel. So as you can see, you can actually build quite sophisticated applications using Amazon Lightsail by connecting it to the AWS platform. So we're coming to the end of our presentation now, and we're about to go into the Q&A. So as you are thinking of questions, or if you've had questions earlier that we didn't get to answer yet in the Q&A box, feel free to ask those now, and George is going to come back and answer them. Also, we want to, again, call your attention to our free offer for Lightsail. So if you go to our website, amazonlightsail.com, you'll see multiple areas where you can sign up for, or actually log into the console and sign up for a free trial or for a larger AWS Lightsail account if you want. So our free trial includes one $5 per month plan, or 750 hours. So you can use those 750 hours however you want. You can use them in that first month. So you could use them for just one instance, or you could use them across 10 instances, each running for 75 hours if you wanted. It's up to you. Again, as I mentioned before, if you're an existing AWS customer, you just need to use your AWS credentials in order to log into Lightsail console and create your instance. If you are not an AWS customer, you're going to have to go through the AWS sign-up process first, and then you'll be able to access the console and get started with your free month. All right, George, it's on to you for Q&A. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the presentation. I hope you learned something, and we're excited to answer your questions.
All right, thanks, George and Emily, for a great presentation. At this point, we have about 14 minutes left for live Q&A, so please continue submitting your questions. We're going to answer as many as we can. We did have hundreds of questions coming in, and our moderators were typing away furiously, so we do apologize in advance if we don't have a chance to get to all of them. Also, please take a quick minute to reply to the polls you are seeing appear on your screen, and I will now hand it over to George for Q&A.
Thanks, everyone. First of all, let me also thank everyone who has joined today, and we've seen literally hundreds of questions. That's great. We're trying to answer as many as possible, but as I said before, feel free to reach out to us in the forums. We're also going to share the email feedback list for Lightsail. We try to answer some of the questions live, but I'm going to try to answer some of the questions here that we've seen coming up again and again, both before the webinar but also during. So let me see. One of the questions is, can I resize my instance, my Lightsail instance? You can definitely do that. The way to do it is to take a snapshot of your instance and then use the API to launch a new instance from that snapshot. You can, so the one thing to watch out for is that you can resize up, but you can't necessarily resize down because of limitations in the disk and the memory. And the other thing to watch out for is that, unfortunately, at the moment, you can only do that through the API, but it's definitely something that we're considering adding to our web console as well. One other question that was very interesting that came up again and again was the regional expansion and whether Lightsail will be in more regions, and that's something that's definitely top in our priority list, very high in our priorities to give you Lightsail across the world. Let me just go through a few of the questions here. What happens if we exceed the thresholds for the price categories? So I think Emily gave a lot of detail there, but I just want to reiterate here that Lightsail plans include a healthy amount of data transfer and DNS queries, and they also give you access to free IPs. So the static IPs overages, you shouldn't be really incurring any charges there, because there's no reason to keep a static IP unattached for a prolonged amount of time. So we don't envision that being a problem. The only real overage charge that we envision people sometimes hitting, if their websites or apps become super famous, is the data transfer. However, we have looked into data when designing these, and we believe that choosing the right plan will probably keep you from incurring data transfer charges, because there is a very healthy amount included. There are a few other questions that I see here, a number of questions about, can we have these operating systems or can we have that distribution? That's something that we're really looking feedback on from you guys, our customers, to listen to what you guys use. Please keep sending us those, both here in the chat, but also in our forums, and we'll be looking to expand definitely the number of distributions that you can use within Lightsail. Can you share snapshots with other users in AWS? That's an interesting question. You could definitely use your snapshots with other users logging into your account within Lightsail, but at the moment there is no way to export your snapshots to EC2, if that's what you mean. I just want to point this out so that people know what's going on there. Again, there is no single method that resizes automatically your instance, but you can take a snapshot and launch an instance from the snapshot. So let me take a look at more open questions here. Oh yes, there's another question that I think is very interesting to answer and has come up a couple of times, which is, we've talked how about the cheapest Lightsail plan costs $5 for a month and the next one $10, etc. Is that a monthly charge? No, that's an hourly charge actually. So you get charged, for example, for the $5 plan, you get charged 0.7 cents per hour. That accrues up to $5 if you use the Lightsail instance for the whole month. But if you use it for half a month, you'd only be paying $2.50. And if you're only using it for 10 hours, you're only paying 7 cents. That means that you could, for example, use multiple Lightsail instances for a few hours of the day and then turn them off if you are so inclined. But the cost is pretty low. We envision people keeping these open. Another question, what is a static IP? A static IP is the Lightsail version, basically, of what users know as elastic IPs, EC2 users. It's just the Lightsail version of that. Can Lightsail do dedicated instances? Not at the moment, and to be honest, we haven't heard a lot of demand right now for that, but we'd love to hear more, Wesley, about your use case. DNS attacks, AWS Shield are not AWS Shield is not included natively in Lightsail right now, but it's definitely something we're considering given the use cases here. There is a limit on the static IPs per account that you can use within Lightsail. You can read a lot more about it in the FAQs, but that I have to point out that's a completely separate limit from your EC2 limit, if that's what. So I tried to repeat the question before answering, Vince. The question was the first part, is there a limit of the static IPs? Yes, there is a limit on Lightsail. However, it's separate from the limit that you get on EC2. So there was another interesting question about how Lightsail is different from Elastic Beanstalk. And I want to say a couple of words about that. So Elastic Beanstalk is an AWS service that allows you to basically deploy your code to AWS, and it will manage the scaling of your infrastructure to match the demands of your application. So what Beanstalk does is it completely abstracts away all of the infrastructure stuff from you. So if you really want to focus only and simply on the code, Elastic Bean Code is a good choice. However, it will scale in and out without giving you complete control on how that infrastructure scales in and out. So with Lightsail, what you get is you get basically root access to your box. You get access to that infrastructure, including your volumes, your IPs, etc., and you select how and if you want to scale in and out. That allows you to have a more predictable price, but it gets you to do a little bit more of that admin work. Compared to EC2, Lightsail is a very simplified version that gives you honestly fewer choices and fewer options, but that's by design. It gives you fewer options and fewer choices so that you don't have to worry about all of these configurations. So it does that heavy lifting for you. If you have a multi-tiered application that needs to be able to scale indefinitely out, use different types of servers for each one of the tiers, or use advanced configuration of IAM or VPC, etc., that's EC2 for you. And that's what you should be opting in to use for. But if you have like simpler workloads of a few servers, Lightsail will make your life a lot easier. So that's another interesting question. Can I use multiple virtual servers at the same time using any of the plans that just come with one core processor? So you can launch up to 20 Lightsail instances at any given time. So for example, you could launch 20 $5 plans, use them for as long as you want, and you will only pay for what you use. A question about IAM and Lightsail and how that works. Tuli here is telling us that was not able to launch a Lightsail instance because they didn't have root credentials and they only had an IAM user. You can definitely do that. You can use an IAM user to launch Lightsail instances, but you need to configure your IAM policies in your account to have access to the Lightsail APIs, basically. So you need an IAM line that says Lightsail star, basically, if you're using IAM. Now, that said, I just want to make sure that we don't confuse folks here. You don't need to use that, but if you are using IAM, you will have to give access, and that goes for every AWS service. You will have to give access to that service. Mark is asking us here, do you prompt the end user prior to incurring an additional cost? You can definitely use the billing console to set up alerts for any costs across AWS platform. That includes Lightsail. However, we don't have right now a natively within the Lightsail console way to do that. But I'll tell you this, Mark, that we've heard this before, and we're definitely considering making that a little bit more transparent. Should really not happen very often, but I get your point. How many Lightsail instances may we run simultaneously from one AWS account? The current limit, Vince, is 20. Deb is asking, can an IAM user give access of his compute services to other IAM user via API? Deb, to be honest, this is a very IAM-focused question that I'm not going to answer, but we can take that offline and dive deeper with the IAM team if you'd like. So we'll take one more question by Alex. How many regions are supported at this moment? The Virginia region is the only region that's supported Lightsail at the moment. As I said, this is a high priority for us. And then we'll close here. That was the last question that we have time, unfortunately, for today, but we'll close here. I just want to say that we love the questions and we love the feedback. Please send us more at amazon-lightsail@amazon.com. Can someone send that in the chat, please, as well?
Amazon-lightsail at amazon.com.
Again, thanks a lot, everyone, for attending and for asking the questions. We're looking forward to hearing more from you. Until next time.
Thanks so much.
I'd like to thank George and Emily for a great presentation, and Gabe for the demo, as well as our moderators for answering the questions. If you have any comments on our previous and upcoming webinars or suggestions on topics you wish AWS will cover in future webinars, please drop us a line at aws-webcast@amazon.com. Your feedback will help us to improve our webinar programming. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Please enjoy the rest of your day.